prayer.
Father God, we just thank you, and we give your name praise, and we give your name honor, and we give your name glory. We just thank you, God, for the wisdom, God, that you have installed in us, God, and we ask that you give us the mindset, God, to look out for the county, the community, and those that have authority over us. We ask, God, that you will be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is the regular meeting of the Henry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018 at 5 p.m. in the Commission Chambers in LaBelle, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Byrd, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Michael Swindle, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Charles Chapman, County Attorney Mark Lapp, and Clerk Barbara Butler.
Thank you, ma'am. First thing we have tonight is under bids. Parker?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept A1A.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle.
Just to be clear.
Do you want B as well? Do you
Yes,
want
sir.
the pay? Okay,
Oh, yes,
and
sir.
also add the contractor to provide a payment and performance bond.
I'll second that too.
And then we did contact the low bidder.
I contacted a low bidder myself, spoke to the gentleman that filled it out, the vice president. He said they can do it for that price. And then I also contacted, Tetra Tech had already contacted their references, but I contacted the Department of Transportation, District 3, and they're currently doing work with for District 3 DOT with no issues.
Because I don't know how you explain 58, 43,000, and 58,000.
It's on one line item, sanitary sewer, cleaning of the line before TVing. That's their price. And I asked them, can you do it for that price? My board's asking me.
I mean, he's not even close.
Well, you kind of explained that realistic bidding and inflamed bidding. So
He
if
said
you can
they-
do it for that, everybody else could too, so it's just a little ridiculous.
We hope.
So,
He said they visited the site and said they're sure they can do it.
Okay, let him do it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the consent agenda.
Do we need to, I'll make a motion to approve consent as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's going to bring us to awards and appearances. The first one we have is a proclamation for Trauma Week. Ms. Storter-Long? Oh, nope.
It's Mr. Hanson.
Okay.
Hanson, Mr. Chris Hanson. Mr. Hanson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Chris Hanson, for the record, a member of the Lee County Health System Board of Directors. I'll be standing in for Donna.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Go to the proclamation here. It's a proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Hendry County, Florida, proclaiming May 2018 National Trauma Awareness Month. Whereas Trauma Awareness Month is designed to raise regional attention to trauma and what must be done to reduce the devastating impact of traumatic injuries. Whereas trauma is the leading cause of death for all Floridians between the ages of 5 and 46 every year, with some in Florida being traumatically injured every 12 minutes, enough to fill Duran Arena 6 times. Wow. Whereas motor vehicle crashes, falls resulting in blunt force trauma make more than 76% of the trauma cases treated in the trauma district each year. Whereas in 2017, more than 2,456 Floridian residents and visitors in Lee County Trauma Services District areas were treated at the Trauma Center of Lee Memorial Hospital. Whereas national studies of the patient mortality is reduced by 15 to 20% when the patient is treated for traumatic injuries in a trauma center rather than in a non-trauma center. And whereas there are more than 1.2 million residents in Lee County Trauma Services District comprised of Charlotte, Collier, Glades, Hendry, and Lee counties, serviced by the only trauma center on the Florida Gulf Coast between Sarasota and Miami. Whereas recognition is due for our Lee County Trauma Service District for its accomplishments and contributions to improve public welfare by providing quality trauma care for all residents and visitors, injury prevention, outreach, education, research, disaster preparedness and response, and demonstrating the effective trauma center saves the lives of our residents and our visitors. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Hendry County, Florida does hereby extend greetings and best wishes to those observing Trauma Awareness Month during the month of May 2018. This is duly executed this 22nd day of May, 2018. We have a proclamation to present to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you very much. Yes, sir, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get a picture when he's done.
All right, very good. Chairman Wills, Commissioners, thank you very much for taking time out of your very important schedule and bringing awareness and keeping the issue of trauma care and the response system, which is a coordinated, intergovernmental, interagency effort that spans the entire 6 counties of the area, catchment area we cover. We're thankful also during May for EMS Week, which we're celebrating this week as well in the month of Trauma Month. And if it weren't for our first responders and law enforcement, the fire districts, and also in EMS providers throughout the counties, bringing the patients, stabilizing them, and then rapidly transporting them to a place where they can receive definitive care, many would not. One of the things we like to bring up in awareness, many people consider trauma centers a place where the knife and gun club is taken care of. The leading cause of the most severe trauma in Southwest Florida is falls from standing. Let that sink in for a minute. Falls from standing is your #1 cause, followed by motor vehicle crashes, and then down about 4th or 5th on the list is gunshots and knifings. So, penetrating trauma. So, everyday common things cause some of the greatest impacts in, believe it or not, just not our older people, as I am, is grown up here, but in our younger, the 1 to 44-year age group. It's one of the leading causes of demise is trauma. And so we're losing some of the greatest hope we have for the future. So thank you again for bringing awareness to this issue, just taking a moment for recognizing trauma, for recognizing the men and women that work tirelessly around this whole region, making sure that patients have an opportunity to be resuscitated and live a full life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very
Thank you,
much,
Mr. Hanson.
Hanson. To all the workers, if you would extend our great appreciation. What they do a lot of times is kind of thankless. A lot of people don't realize the situations they're in, and their families allow them to be out so that we may be safe. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you for your time.
Come up here with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Did you vote?
Make a motion
Vote on that.
to, make a motion to accept and approve proclamation.
Second.
Only one. Got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next one is Miss England, under the Henry Glades Unmet Needs Coalition.
While she's coming up, Mr. Chair, I just want to point out she's the first ever ambassador of goodwill from South Florida Water Management District. Hot order.
Is that good? Oh, okay.
You're the real
Okay.
deal, Miss England.
Okay, well, thank you all for allowing us to be on the agenda tonight. We're really honored to be here. And I do have our all of our officers and our director are here. If they could just stand so you could recognize them. Frank Harris from Clewiston. Tina Harris is our secretary. She's from Clewiston. Yvette Wingate from Moorhaven. She's our vice chair. And I'm Margaret England. I'm our chair. And our coordinator is Terry Mazazga from Moorhaven. I hope I haven't missed anyone. And one of our biggest supporters, to help us get the word out in the community has been Lisa Sands from the United Way. The Henry Glades Unmet Needs Coalition. It was established officially the middle of January. So basically, we're 4 months old. And the mission of the Henry Glades Unmet Need Coalition is to partner with faith-based organizations, volunteer and social agencies, governmental agencies, community-based organizations, businesses, and individual volunteers who seek to address the spiritual, emotional, and physical needs of individuals and families affected by natural and man-made disasters in Henry and Glades County. This coalition is a community-based coalition, and it's run by volunteers that live in the community in Hendry and Glades County. The individuals and family needs are heard by a case manager and kept confidential. The case managers present the need to the small round table of coalition members and various stakeholders determine if the need can be met. And the coalition only funds cases when no other sources are available. We are currently working with various volunteer labor organizations to provide assistance at no cost to the clients, and the coalition is purchasing materials only for those cases. We're seeking voluntary donations, additional volunteers with various skills, including legal assistants, counselors, and licensed contractors to assist with cases. We're in partnerships with the United Way, who is serving as our fiscal agent, as we're not yet 501c3. We hold regular public meetings open to the community for anyone wanting to get involved. And just as a side note, our next meeting is at 1 o'clock this Friday, the 25th of May, at Carlson Memorial United Methodist Church, and everyone is invited to attend. This is a long-term recovery group, and we're going to be around for many years to come. Referrals can be made to the coalition coordinator, and I think you have information in your packet with our phone number and how to contact the coordinator. We also have a Facebook page with updated information. Just come check us out. And I would like to let the commissioners know that when we receive referrals, these referrals are sent to a vetted case manager. And the case manager works through the case with the individual client in a confidential manner, and we only see the cases that there are still unmet needs for this client to recover their lives and their homes back to what it was before Irma. Do you have any questions or comments?
We had, I handed them out for you last meeting.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
And we've been passing them out in the community.
Right. And we would like to thank the Hendry County Commission, because when the voluntary liaison from FEMA came and asked for your help early on with publicity, you have done an exceptional job, and Emily has posted our meeting notices, and I think that's why we have been able to secure so many wonderful partners and who are bringing new funding back into our community to help people with unmet needs.
Thank you for what you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Yes, ma'am, thank you for being here tonight, and everyone that was with her tonight. Thank you for what you do for our communities.
Thank you.
Because of your caring, a lot of people actually get back to where they're supposed to be. So thank you all very much. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank
Dana,
you.
thank you for all the different things that you're involved in, whether it's rescuing a bird or finding a whooping crane or re-roofing a home. Thank you for everything you do. Ms. Sands, specifically as well, to United Way and all of the different hats that you all wear and how y'all just make it happen. Thank y'all
Right.
so much.
Right.
Appreciate you.
Right,
Number
right. And
one
we,
bird lady.
She is.
okay. Quack, quack.
We're going to be moving along to public hearings. First one tonight is amendment to the Hendry County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 1-53, zoning.
Yes.
How are you?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the attached ordinance as presented.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, a second by Commissioner Byrd. This is a public hearing, so is there any members of the public who would like to address us at the time?
Were you going to go through an outline anyway?
We can come back to that, Ed. If you want to have an outline, we can go through that.
Well, I just know there's some focusing on this that came specifically to hear it. That's the reason I was asking.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Commissioners, this is the second public hearing for this recommended amendment to the Land Development Code, specifically Chapter 153, 6.13 regarding the airports, as well as...
Chair, Ms. Simmons, what you're speaking to is what I just made a motion to, correct?
Yes,
That is
sir.
correct.
Mr. Chair, I'm not trying to dissuade a presentation in any way, shape, or form, but would it be out of line for us to ask, are there any members of the public that would like to speak specifically to this issue, that have questions that are burning in desire to being asked? If you all have not seen this presentation, or you all want to ask specifics as well, I think that we've beat this airport to death. And I know the sentiment of this board, so I'm dying to.
Once again,
You know.
we can open it back to the public if you would, if you do have specific questions you'd like to address concerning this motion. Would you, yes, sir, come on up front, please, sir. You would state your name, sir, when you come up.
Okay, my name is Art Gallagher, and I'm a resident in Flaghole, actually in Montour Ranch, and I was just concerned with the noise. And it's been a quiet life out there, and wanting to maintain that, and wanted to know if there is going to be times restrictions on the noise, and when the planes can be coming in and out of the area.
Okay, Ms. Simmons, can you speak to that? Mr. Parker?
Time restriction?
Yeah.
For the record, Shane Parker, Henry County Engineer, there's going to be no time restrictions. They can come any time of the day they want to. They've got their flight pass set up, and there's put the slide up with a 65, do you know? No. It's
The one with the contour, correct?
Yes, sir.
Try that one.
That's it.
Go to the bottom, Ms. Meyer. All right, you see the green outline around the runway? It is east of Flaghole, and Montour is further away, so that's the 65 DNL. It's gonna be much less than Montour, so you should have minimal sound.
Don't use acronyms. 65 decibels,
So how far is he from the blue?
considerable.
Huh?
The green is the 65
Yeah, I know it. So he's
DNL
a
noise
long
level.
ways from the blue.
He's a long ways, he's in Montour Ranch Estates.
Yeah.
So-
Several miles.
7 miles.
So the noise shouldn't bother him, right?
I would not anticipate.
No, sir, it should not.
Huh?
No, sir, we don't anticipate it to bother Montour Ranch Estates.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
Right.
Would anyone else have questions, or?
Mr. Chair, this presentation is available. Is it online currently?
Our staff report with our recommendation and attached exhibits is online. The presentation that the consultants were going to do or are prepared to do, that can be made available on our website if that's the desire of the board.
Yeah, I believe that would really enhance the opportunity for the ones in the public that cannot be here.
Sure.
Where they could actually pull that up and sit and discuss it. I believe that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
And in a galaxy far away, in the event we're able to update our audiovisual capabilities, that is something that we would move to. But right now, I think this is fine. So I appreciate y'all just making that available to everybody online. And I'm excited to move this forward.
It is
Okay.
available.
All right, it's already available and on the website, so
Wonderful.
magic
Henry County
happens.
website. If they would like to look at this, they go to Henry County website, and they can pull this presentation up from there. Under
Yes, sir.
planning,
What did you put it under?
It is under last board meeting's agenda, and I think we have it under.
I have a specific link, but I'll repost it tonight as well.
Okay.
On our
So there will be a link tonight, reposted tonight, that if they want to see it, they can go to it. Perfect. Thank you. So is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our second one is amendment to Henry County Code Ordinance, Chapter 1-4.5, Noise Control, specifically Section 1-14.5-1.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve option 1 to the amendments to the Henry County Code of Ordinances on noise control. And I also want to thank you all for asking staff to
No.
engage the process
I'm
that's
sorry,
happened.
sir. This is, the recommendation is to continue
The continuance of that.
the continuance of this,
We'll just have the date certain time.
yes,
Yes,
August 28th, 2018 at 5 PM
I have to read that, I'm sorry.
at the County Commission Chambers in LaBelle.
Yep.
Second.
Time certain.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons, for that clarification.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. This is also a public hearing. Was there anyone in the public who would love to address this issue? Seeing none, any further discussion amongst the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Excited about
Thank
getting
you.
that done.
We have an add-on to this tonight. It's under Port LaBelle Utility System rate increase of new residential customer connections. Mr. Parker.
For the record, Shane Parker, Henry County Engineer. This is the second public hearing for the rate increase. There was one earlier with the Port LaBelle Utility Advisory Board where they approved it unanimously. And this is for new residential customer connections only. And it's due to costs that have been incurred by Port LaBelle Utility System, such as an increase in the permit fees for digging in the Port LaBelle CDD right-of-way, costs associated with new meters.
Mr. Chair, just real simple, do you feel that the public's been adequately vetted on this? Or are they going to snap and blow a gasket whenever this starts to become implemented?
I don't think they're going to snap. It's all for
Okay,
new
I make a
connections.
motion to approve. Remember that in the event they fill up the chambers and go off on us.
Second.
All right.
But it's only for the new residents, right?
It's for new residents, and it was a utility advisory board
So,
and there was nobody from the public even present.
Okay, tough guy.
second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. Also, this is a public meeting,
Shane,
so
okay, 2205 would be, correct? For new-
2205 for the water portion.
For the new builder.
Yes, for the water portion
And
only.
what was it before that?
It was slightly less. We went up 300 and, I got it written in here.
$375?
It was, hang on a second,
18 something?
make sure I got this right. We increased it $345,
Okay,
so it's just,
that's not bad. Because you hadn't had an increase in years.
Still
No,
cheaper
sir.
putting
Not in a
septic tank
while.
in. Still cheaper than putting a septic tank in.
once again, anyone in the public wish to address this? Seeing none, any further discussion from the board?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We've got one for the Workforce, Southwest Florida Workforce Development Board.
Mr. Chair,
Ours action.
just,
On DC?
yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
It may have not been in his
I seen one
packet.
highlighted and I missed it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we do have one, amendments to the procurement ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we can, that we approve option number one, excuse me.
Second.
We had a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. This is also under the public meeting, so if anyone would love to address this, come forth now. Seeing none, any further discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's going to take us to the Workforce Development Board. What we're doing is approving this budget, Mr. Lapp, is that correct?
I think so. This isn't, I don't have anything to do with this, but
I can help. The Henry County sits as the chair, is the chair for that, and so each board within the
chair is the
multi-county
chair.
region has to approve it. So yes, since they traditionally have responsibility in our district, then we have to
We need a
approve the budget.
motion to approve it, okay.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Any more discussion?
Did you have a conversation with Joe Paterno, as it relates to EAA funding and Senate Bill 10?
Yes, I'll get there under business by
Cool. All right.
district.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
Okay, under correspondence, FYI, everybody's engineering department updates, and everybody's good there?
Yes.
Staff reports, Mr. Chapman.
So your first item under staff reports is a lease agreement with Elite DNA. The item is to be handled by Ms. Jennifer Davis, Deputy County Administrator.
So we're
We're requesting your permission to enter into a subsidized lease agreement with Elite DNA for the space that Crossroads Behavioral Health is in out on Pratt Boulevard. It'll be a new revenue source.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion?
When are they gonna move in?
I believe June 1st.
Is this for a one-year lease?
We're doing short-term leases for now to be able to keep our options open with some of the discussions that we're
That's
having.
the reason I was asking.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is short-term.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, what?
We can extend it.
We need to say the duration, so what?
Okay, so we were doing 1 year.
It's 1 year with options to renew should we desire to.
Once we start, okay. All right, that's what I was asking for.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Parker.
For the record, Shane Parker, County Engineer. I have before you approval of the detailed work plan budget for mosquito control for fiscal year 18-19 with the understanding that the FDAX grant that I had identified is subject to change. I don't know what the amount's going to be, but it'd be probably plus or minus 1,000, more than likely going down.
Do you have a balance in the hand now?
Sir,
Do you have a balance now?
do I have a balance in the
Yeah,
budget for
in-
mosquito
Yeah,
control?
in the mosquito control fund.
I have money in the mosquito control fund. This here is assuming that I'm spending all that money except for 59,000, starting with only the assessments generated.
'Cause you're probably gonna have another big year.
More than likely. Weather dependent.
When the sun comes out, you will. But I move to
Second.
approve.
I didn't think you were ever going
By
to do that.
Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Cut off the sugar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Chairman, I,
Make a motion to approve the CM services. You don't want that? Where's that got pulled?
I'm just going to give you an update. I don't have a contract for you. I spoke to Christel Construction, and they're not going to charge us a pre-construction phase fee, which was what I was going to bring tonight for doing due diligence work. They have agreed verbally to the CM fee percentages. It'd be the same one we used for the courthouse.
Yes.
We're meeting this Thursday to go over a report I just got from a drywall inspector. We're meeting this Thursday, and we're going to go around the courthouse and just agree on how they got their numbers to make sure we're matching up, and then he's going to give me a guaranteed maximum price to bring
So,
back.
okay, okay, that's wonderful then that y'all
We're moving.
work towards that. Good.
When you gonna start on the health department? I mean, do
That's-
you have a date?
No, sir. I plan to, I'm trying to bring a contract to you on June, a guaranteed maximum price.
What,
You
8?
got to tighten up.
8 months?
Compliment the guy, and this is what he does.
I know. He's slipping again.
Get on him. Get on him, Commissioner Harris.
I'll get him after me.
All right,
Focus on Ford to No Road all the time.
I got one for that one too.
See?
All right, Harlem Tenants Association.
Make a motion to allow them to put a sign up. Is that what we want to do, Ms. Byrd?
No, I think that they need to look into it because it's on county property. Also, the fence is on county property. So I think the language of it might need to change. So I would like to direct him to look a little bit further into it because it is on county property. I don't know if you all knew that.
The fence and the sign would be on county
Fence
property.
and the sign is on county property. This was my first hearing of it.
It was there for a while, though, wasn't it?
I don't know how long the fence was there, Commissioner Turner. I conducted an inspection last week. It's there.
Well, that fence been there a minute.
And I'm going to be locating it this Friday.
So you,
If it is on county property, after talking to Shane, he have to make sure if he put the sign up, there's nothing connected to utilities or whatever under.
Well, Ms. Byrd, out of respect to your district, I will adhere to you, so I withdraw my motion.
so you just want to table it?
But I'm ready to,
I just need Shane to continue, he's looking into it now to see what
Okay.
he need to do to change the language of it because it is on county property.
Okay.
Just to be clear, it's a license agreement, which is necessarily when it's on county property. So if we don't want them to be on county property, then there's no agreement to be brought. It's just, then we're going to tell them no on the sign and asking them to remove the fence. So.
well, first, hold on.
I think that's just going a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
I think that it is on county property. We need to make sure that's what we want. I don't have a problem with being on county property. I need to bring it to the attention that it is. We knew the sign was there, but we didn't know the fence was there. So, I don't have a problem with them putting the sign back up, but, I think the language gotta change because of the fence also. Am I right?
Well, the license agreement, it's been prepared, it's not in front of you, but I've prepared it, and it does authorize the fence to be there, because it is there already, and it just imposes some standards as far as them keeping it up and having liability insurance and such. So that's part of the draft agreement I've prepared, so it's at your discretion whether you want to continue to allow
As long as
it.
it's in the language, it's fine with me. So I can pick back up your recommendation.
Okay, I'd like the motion to stand.
I'll second that motion. Under discussion?
Yes.
Are you going to ask them to pay liability?
They have to have, I'm asking that they have a commercial general liability insurance policy and name us as an additional insured. So,
Which they're going to have.
Yeah.
They're going to just list us as additional insured, which is what you said. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
So that'd come under it.
But let me just, I want to make a statement kind of over-encompassing. In the event the county were to come back in 2018 and ask the Harlem Gardens Tenants Association and/or any human that resides in our county that you need to go through the process of fixing your fence that's on county property, I would hope that said human would sue our britches off. Because clearly that fence has been there for a while now. And we're, in my opinion, if we're going back and telling you have to incur costs to fix a problem that we have allowed to go on for generations, then I think that we have just as much onus as it relates to that issue as anybody. So I hope that we're not, I hope that issue doesn't happen. I'm just making something out there because as we delve into code, I'm sure that we're going to see that there's a chain link fence that extends 4 feet and it's been there since me and Danny Herrera were riding bikes down Hookers Point Road going to cougar practice. So I don't think that somebody should have to incur a cost to go back in and fix something that's been there for years and years and years. Is there a cutoff? Is there a limit to that? Yeah. But I just think that those should all be looked at on a case-by-case scenario. Harlem Gardens has had that fence and had a sign there for a while. I know that's what you're saying. You're all about doing it. And you're saying that the license agreement, but I want to make sure that we're not trying to be overbearing. And I'm not saying that anybody was insinuating that on this issue. I'm just saying we need to make sure that doesn't occur. That's all. Thank you.
I can count for 19 years of it being there.
So if it's been there 19 years, you can't really make them do nothing. Just
Been there that
grandfathered
long,
in.
yeah.
And I mean, and yes. And I would say that
you were
This
speaking
time
of,
and age, I
that's
wouldn't
over to
even
the
think about it.
east side of the drive.
Yeah.
It's to the east side drive. It encompasses a good portion of the county land, and since they were coming with a sign request, it only made sense to incorporate the fence, locate it, acknowledge it's there, and just acknowledge they're responsible for it. That's
Right,
it.
yeah. We maintain that little section anyway. Amos maintains that anyway, so.
We just need to bring it to the attention that it was there. You
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
so.
Keeping it
So
legal.
you brought the motion back, Mr. Turner?
Yes, sir.
We have a second by Commissioner Harris. Is there any further discussion? All opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Figured I'd catch him in a bit.
No, you won't. Make a motion to approve the, amend and restate the declaration of a local state of emergency for the 36th extension.
We can't just.
37.
We can't just do it for, we can't just keep.
Commissioner Harris, we're going to vote every meeting. Every time you bring it up, we're going to vote again.
Can we get a stamp?
A second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We come to the portion, if you're a member of the public and you'd wish to speak tonight,
I do.
you can go first. How's that?
Thanks. I need approval from the board to be able to issue a check to Ashbridge for $519,910.94.
We hang on to that for a while? How long can we hold that?
Just remember, if you're holding up local contractors from getting their check.
Contractors have been paid. It's the guy that was subcontracting with Ashbridge that hasn't been paid.
Oh.
Subcontractors have not been paid.
So moved.
The subcontractors have not been paid.
There's one contractor that Ashbridge owes
We don't have
money.
no choice.
Just one?
Well, I don't know.
Second to Commissioner Harris's motion.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on that?
I'm just getting calls on.
Yes. I do have further discussion.
Go ahead, sir.
How far are we behind
On what?
that bill there?
We just got it.
But we're paying on time.
Yes.
Well, that's something different.
Is he delinquent? Are the subs delinquent, or are they being paid on time as well?
There's just one sub under Ashbred that's still trying to get his money, and that's the only calls that I've received. You know,
So is, this probably gonna sound wrong, correct
I
me
don't
if
think
I'm
it will. I
wrong,
bet it comes out right.
we have a subcontractor sitting here waiting on money. We're gonna give this gentleman another big check, and he still hadn't paid someone that lives here?
I don't know if he lives here. He doesn't live here. I think he's one of the ones that subbed out to some of the other ones here.
Out of town.
Well, let me add to what Commissioner Wills said, and I agree. Shane, do you know if all of our subs locally have been receiving their money for the work that they performed in county?
No, sir, I don't know if they all have. What I do know is, just to recap a little bit, invoices been coming in. They've been getting reviewed by Thompson Consulting, which is debris monitor. As part of their contract, those were finally approved. We looked at them, we were good. And as soon as they were good, we sent them up for payment. I know that Wary Truck Lines, who was the first tier subcontractor at Ashbred, they're looking to get paid. I don't know if it's just retainage. He called me Thursday. And then also, Greg Westbury, WW Company, just wanted to make sure we were still holding money because he's owed retainage. And I talked to him, and he was satisfied. I said, we're holding 10% retainage. And he's like, okay, just want to make sure everything was going good. And so, as far as I know, that's the only two calls I got. And we have another bill that's coming from Ashbred also. The final, just it's supposed to be the last one from Ashbred, is my
But if
understanding.
the locals wasn't getting paid, the telephone would be ringing.
It would be
They'd
ringing.
be calling us.
And Mr. Westbury, that's the first time he's called me. He was just calling just to check in. That was it.
Tracy Martinez got paid, everybody got paid.
Mr. Chair, I know we have a motion and a second on the floor. But the last thing I would ask is, I'll tell you what, I'll just wait till we vote, and then I'm gonna have obviously I'm gonna have a statement about the subject.
Well, if, and further on discussion, I really hope we have some good conversations in the coming future about taking care of our locals in a greater capacity than we have in this one. And speaking to some of the other counties, they were able to keep that local. So we really need to see if we can take care of the people that take care of us every day, rather than just when something happens, so. Is there any further discussion?
Just
Yes,
one
sir.
more
Go
comment
ahead.
to make, because I don't know for sure, and I don't want it to leave a false impression. I have not spoke to Mr. Wary. I left a voicemail, tried to leave a voicemail. His voicemail was full. I did send him a message. I don't know if he's owed more than retainage or not. Ms. Butler may know. I don't know. So it may just be a matter of retainage, and they're just waiting until everything gets paid.
Great. That's good to know. As long as everything, it always reflects back to us, so we just need to make sure that we don't have a bad image there. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, to that matter, and a little bit of echoing what you said, and obviously I've brought it up a couple times now. Charles, what progress, if any, has been made with regards to contacting our contractors? And Mark, have you done any, or had the ability to do any investigation to see if we can legally go down that rabbit hole?
Right, I did a lot of research on it since the last meeting and since the last board meeting. And we as a staff met to discuss this specific subject yesterday. And there were some further issues that we had to think over and evaluate. And we've got another meeting scheduled, I think, for June, first Monday in June. So we are moving forward on it. I mean, just so you know, we do have the existing contract with Ashbred, and it goes through middle of October. It does have a termination right in there, but that's just 5 days, so we could get out of it quickly, but it's in place, and getting a new one in place is going to be a process, and I understand we're on the verge of hurricane season, but, you know, we're going to present to you, hopefully on June 12th, our answers, but we do have the continuing contract in place, so we do have coverage, if you will, until we get the new, decide to go out again for a bid.
Do you feel in your investigation up to this point that there are tools that are in existence currently that would allow for the county to subcontract or to contract directly with a consulting firm and, the monitoring debris a debris monitoring company, and contractors to perform said work within the current structure that we have right now. We could do that without having an umbrella contractor.
Well, you'd be talking about having multiple contractors.
We would have to, obviously. And/or we would have two local horses that said, you know what? We're going to give you this. We're going to give you this number at X, and we're going to set up everybody locally, but we're going to commit to you that we're utilizing local people. But either way, it doesn't matter. It's not one of two animals that are nationally renowned companies. It's us using us. Do we have the ability to vet that?
We have the ability to have multiple contracts, so
Okay.
we're not subject or restricted to have one debris hauling firm for the whole county.
Okay.
So we can split it up, if you will. If we want reimbursement from FEMA, we have to comply with their rules.
Yep, and their rules specifically
Their rules are you have to competitively award it unless you've done nothing and you're reacting to an emergency. So if we want to have anything in place in advance, we have to competitively award it. Now, and I didn't even want to tell you that you could award it without any competitive process afterwards, but in an emergency, you can go through an informal process.
But we're not asking that. We don't want to do that.
No, okay, so a competitive process is required to be at the front end.
So let's start that competitive process today.
And you cannot do local vendor preference. It's
Okay.
specifically prohibited.
Then remove, I'll use acronym E so maybe y'all understand it better. Remove the LVP so that we can locally utilize our contractors out there, okay? And get Mark, I'm telling y'all, this is not a hard process. This is not a hard process. This is as simple as renting or asking the city of Clueston, can we use the John Boy Auditorium and/or LaBelle Civic Center one night, and say, all of y'all that are contemplating conducting business in Henry County, you need to come, you need to give us a price list, and you need to tell us what it's going to do.
How is that? That's not a competitive process. That's
Absolutely. No, Mark. It's a competitive process. This is what we're going to do it for. We're going to do it for X, Y, or Z, okay? We have a baseline going in. The competitive process is based on how you formulate what you're going to choose. There's a million and one ways to skin this cat. The beauty of it is this. You have not said we can't do it. You have not said that as long as all you've said is we follow the FEMA guidelines, we're going to be able to do it in-house. And what I allude to you is this.
I don't know what you mean by in-house.
We're not going to have to hire Ashbrit or some other jackass from around the nation that's going to take a 5 to 7% off of every dollar that we spend, and they're going to hold us hostage and say that if you hit us with a contract of non-performance, we're going to sue you. And by the way, we have a team of lawyers. By the way, we did a $500 million contract with the Hurricane Katrina out in New Orleans, and they're so much more sophisticated than us that it's not even funny. And we can turn dollars internally and get it done. And Mark, we're going to get a better product at the end of the day. We're going to get it done quicker, and we're probably going to do it cheaper. I stand by that.
So all you got to do is go through the bidding process.
That's it.
Bidding process, it looks
Right.
different than I think he
Well,
just
I mean,
described it.
Well,
but,
that's up to you.
Yeah,
What Commissioner Turner just described as an opportunity to explain to them, this is what we're going to do, then you come with sealed bids.
Bid meeting, sure.
Yeah.
We haven't done that, Mark. We say sure, but we haven't done that. I've been asking for it since 2014. We haven't done it. And the reason why we didn't do it the first time was because these contractors that were so sophisticated, I don't need to rehash it, but I'm going to do it because it gets my blood pressure. They're so sophisticated that when the storm Alberto is in the Yucatan Peninsula and in the basin, they're going to mobilize equipment, and they're going to be sitting over in Hooker's Point. And don't worry about asking Morris Reginald to get his long stem and his 17 dump trucks that are sitting in his yard and his payloader out. And don't ask Greg Westbury or anybody else over on this county who ultimately did the work anyway. So I'm just emphatically impressing this issue because Alberto is in the Atlantic Basin. It's sitting out there in the Gulf of Mexico getting ready to gut something, and hopefully it's just going to be a rain event. But I think that it personified itself. It was, unfortunately, it was a bad situation, but I think that we had a heck of a growth curve from a learning perspective, and I don't think we're going to make that same mistake. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a good opportunity. I think that we're going to be able to take care of home a lot more than what we have previously, and we're going to, even if it's only 5 or 7%. I go back to when Darrell Harris asked Ashbrit to buy a $100 dinner ticket. He don't even know who they are. You know, you may say, well, golly, Commissioner Turner, that's all it takes is a $100 dinner ticket. No, don't be asinine. I'm not implying that you are. I'm just saying that we're not doing anything other than trying to take care of home. That's it. And that could be a regional home. You know, it could be people from Fort Myers.
So
But
the bid and then everything would be okay with reimbursement through FEMA.
It may be 9 years from now, but yeah.
Yeah. So,
We're not boat anyway.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. Is
Why
that
not take care of the
correct?
locals?
Is that correct, Mark?
Do a bid properly, that's the way it's
You're
done.
gonna do it properly.
Mark, I can guarantee you're not going to let us do anything improper or illegal.
We plan to give you a full report on June 12th, so that's
Awesome.
the short answer. So you're hearing a lot of disjointed, incomplete thoughts because we're not complete yet.
Well, you
Right.
can
There's-
complete that.
There's only about 2 or 3 decision points that we have to finish on how we structure the bid so that it's fair, equitable, and in accordance to what FEMA's looking for. Portion of that is that we don't want the volume of the potential bid being so great where we're triggering performance bonds, which would then potentially disqualify some of our smaller contractors.
Absolutely.
So we're being very sensitive to keeping these things small geographic regions for many, many, many reasons. One is competitiveness, but 2 is also cost control to the relative debris monitoring sites. With that is we've learned through the process is that we need a separate contract for the debris monitoring site, which can be done by a local vendor. It does not have to be done by a national company. But there's specialized equipment that's required for those DMS sites, to use another acronym for the evening, so that we can get that debris disposed of in a quicker fashion. So we've learned a lot. We're trying to break it down in the language of the bid so that ABC local contractor feels good about giving us a number, and we've done cost controls that we know that the DMS that he's going to be hauling to, he or she hauling to, is going to be within that 0 to 5 or 0 to 7 mile radius, so we can get a number locked in that we can budget on.
Last thing, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to terminate the contract with Ashbridge and the second tier contractor that we have on the back burner. Reason being, logic behind this is that in the event Hurricane Daryl forms in the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow, our own county attorney said, if you don't have a contractor in place, you can turn on a dime and emergency hire someone up.
They're going to look really bad when you do that with FEMA. I
Is
think-
it- is
I
it
think
gonna-
you're
is it
asking
gonna-
for not getting reimbursed.
We're gonna not get reimbursed based off of what, Mark?
Because you have a contract that was competitively awarded, and you're specifically awarding it to get into an emergency situation. I mean, it's a recipe for having FEMA tell you we're denying reimbursement.
They're gonna deny reimbursement on the current storm?
No, well, though you're talking about leaving us bare.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about when the current storm strikes, okay? We go and we hire a contractor and we perform to the protocols that FEMA has said. And all I'm doing is expediting the process that we're gonna implement anyway.
How do you comply with FEMA's protocols when you're
You
only-
just told me all you gotta do is hire a FEMA certified contractor that does the debris monitoring and buy some software and or hardware. I don't know what it is, but y'all are gonna figure that out. Secondly, you said we can use local vendors. Tell me what I'm missing here, guys.
Well,
It's just not in place yet.
It's not
Once
in
we get
place.
all the
You
protocol
can do
in
all
place,
that.
then.
If we don't set the standard once again, and we anticipate that June 12th, this is gonna be done, June 12th, we're gonna have a great report with no action.
well, we can make action June the 12th.
I
Okay?
think we need to allow them to do what we asked them to do
And
and
we-
bring it back to the table, June.
I asked it in 2014, today is 2018. I asked it nicely in October or something like that. Here we are again, it's May, we're back in hurricane season, what have we moved on it? And I know we're all really busy, but this isn't my day job. So I set policy, and I think the policy should be, we're gonna use our local people. Find the way to put that in place.
They're
I agree
gonna
with
come
that.
back on the
Okay.
12th.
That's what they're trying to do, so I think we need to allow them to.
All right,
Come back on the
June
12th.
12th, we'll have a way to make that happen.
this is why it's a democracy and not a dictatorship. Thank y'all very much for outvoting me, I appreciate that.
4-1. You've had enough to say. You started that.
Do what? Started this then. Ms. Byrd, business by district, Ms. Byrd.
Oh, God. First of all, I'd like to bring to the board's attention, if I may, to recommend that, I don't know if you recall, this called real property, if I'm using the right language, where if you have a property and it have my name on 5 pieces of property, but if I bought property A, I cannot sell property A because it's a lien on all of them. I'm not saying do away with none of the liens. I'm saying let it go property by property. So I'm asking for direction for Mark to look more into it. Otherwise, if I have 5 pieces of property and all of them is owned by 5 different people, but I want to sell this one, I cannot sell it if I'm explaining it right because the other 4 have liens on it. I would like for it to be property by property, but with some stimulations that we don't get hacked in between. So I like to give direction where Mark could look more into the lien process of this property. Am I saying that right, Mark?
I understand what you're talking about. I mean, and
Was
it's,
the first
Have any
property,
anymore?
the first property has a lien on it.
Send all four tied together.
But all four of them tied together,
So they're not separate.
they're separate, but the liens, every individual lien, every property have its own individual lien, but if I paid off all the liens on property A, I still can't sell it because there's liens on property.
Is that a county ordinance?
No.
It's a state, it's called real property.
it's real property law.
Yeah, it's nothing, we can't change that, can we?
Well, you can't change real property law. The only thing you could do is release liens. You could have a practice by which you state a desire or a willingness to release liens on properties other than the property on which the violation occurred on a case-by-case basis. And, you know, I've heard other local governments do that. You'll want to have some protections in place so that people don't try to game the system by, you know, selling property to a friend and then we release it for that and they're really just collaborating to avoid. But if it's a true arm's length transaction, or even like that's the situation she's talking about was a tax deed. So the property that's now owned by this third person bought it at tax deed auction, and it does not have the code enforcement violations on it, but it's encumbered by the liens on the other properties. So that's something you may choose to adopt, but you'll have to release it on a case-by-case. I would recommend you release it on a case-by-case basis and not just say
And the
it.
same person owns all four.
No.
I'd like to learn more about that
That's
myself.
why I asked him to dig
I
a
would
little
too.
bit more.
Yeah.
It's five different pieces of land.
Okay.
But I bought one, but I can't sell it because of the other liens on the other
And
property.
it's code enforcement liens?
But
it could be anything,
my
right?
thing
It could be
is-
any kind of lien, yeah.
So there's 5 different owners.
So, but they have to,
Oh,
I'm
I don't know
saying
that.
not do away with the liens, but you pay for everything that's on that one property.
Yeah.
If there's a lien, I'm not saying do away with nothing. I'm saying allow them to pay for it. And if they choose to sell it, fine, but it ties us up if we're trying to go in and sell land or move land out, we're too small of a county to tie ourselves down like that. So I just want to give direction for Mark to look further into it and bring it back to the
I
board.
don't see anything wrong with that.
And
That'd be
like you
interesting to
said,
learn.
case by case.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more myself, that'd be good.
I would like to get educated too.
So it'd be a future agenda item as well.
Hey, Mark, if you knew of any counties or local governments even that were doing that, you could give us an example.
That's what I'm
Yes, sir.
looking into right now.
They are.
Yeah.
Mr. Harris?
See, Meyer, I think she's here. Anyway, on the way into the meeting, I got a call. On eucalyptus, Ron Zimmerly's here. That pile sitting out there is still there. What did we do on that?
Kelly,
Oh,
we
Kelly.
actually have it scheduled.
I know it's been there for how many months?
It's actually scheduled for court on the 29th. So,
He's
Tuesday.
gonna do it? The owner?
We're taking it to court.
So it goes before the judge?
Right, right. So
And
then the judge will
we have
determine how we're
we
going to,
have their witnesses lined up?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
there's one of
And Mark's assisting with that as well, so we have it.
Okay, you gotta win that case.
Put on the best case we can.
Commissioner Swindle?
At the last meeting, I was asked to attend the Career Source and collegial discussion about the Senate Bill 10 funds, $1.5 million. It is going to be, it is already appropriated. They are fleshing out the language now. It will not even be appropriated and the rules written through DEO until November. Nonetheless, it will be November, and so hopefully by January, we hope to be able to see some of those funds. I've already been to 2 meetings in Belglade. I've got another one Thursday. The first meeting I went to was huge, and we just couldn't really accomplish much. So they decided to set up a small cohort and they asked for the educators to get together and talk about the needs, and we did that last week. We're going to do it again this week, and we intend to start drilling in on some specific needs. It may be different from what Belglade South Bay needs to what Hendry needs, but nonetheless, we are drilling in on where we feel like our biggest needs are in some of the wins. So we are working on it. It's been a great opportunity, and I enjoyed working with those folks, and I think we're going to have even further collaboration and opportunities with workforce training become of it. So I'll continue to report back as more happens there.
Is that on vocation?
Yeah, adult ed and vocational, yes.
The meeting we had with Pasadena and Representative Donald?
Yes,
That was a long discussion.
good.
And she's 100% behind. Because she gave an example, she's an attorney.
Yep,
She said the plumber makes more than she does.
yeah,
But we're not training plumbers.
right. Well, hold on now, hold on.
Well, I mean, are we training
Yeah,
plumbers?
we are.
Okay.
We are.
That's good.
Yes,
Plumbers, electricians.
That's
all
right.
that stuff.
that's right.
And then if you'll notice, if you read the paper, one of our candidates for governor is all about vocational.
Yep, yep, they're
So
thumping
we went
it.
from vocational back years ago when I was there to doing away with it, now bringing it all back.
That's right. Yep, that's right. And it's coming back very strongly and strategically and methodically, and my goal is to do what works well in Hendry County. And we can't afford to prop up everything we can, but these collaborative agreements that we're able to do, we can do what we do well and then simply send kids, and adults within a 20-mile radius of us, and they can get the things that we can't afford to do and still wind up with
You can
certificates.
give them a choice.
That's right. So there's distinguished pathways that we're exploring. So I'll be happy to report back on that. Charles, did you have a chance to look into the Central County issue? Do I need to move a motion on that, or can you help me with that, or do I need to leave it alone for now? Or
We took a look at the East Rec budget, and there's a couple of questions that we need to clarify as far as what is available versus what isn't. I would like to have the opportunity to get that report to you.
is that something I need to move? I need an official motion on that, or not? Is that something we can do without it?
We have not, to get to the heart of the matter is that there's the potential need or desire to underwrite a Central County recreation program this year is what Commissioner is asking. And
Whoa, wait a second. Did you just say there's a potential desire from that community and/or Commissioner Swindle to help financially underwrite?
Let Commissioner Swindle speak
So
to that.
what they historically have done all of their own summer rec.
Yeah, with a
And-
tremendous budget that they incur.
Well, and they've been through the same year that we've been through and had to put out enormous amounts of monies as we have, and they're in the same situation budgetary wise than we are, and they're about 10,000 short, and as a result, they basically are going to have no participants in camp as a result. The Central County,
What's their fee? Do they have a fee?
they were doing $25 a week, I believe, is what they were doing.
Do they have a fee to pay into Central County? Like a
The
rec
people, the
fee?
participants.
Yeah, rec fee for the swimming pools.
Yeah, they're on their tax bill, you mean?
Yeah.
I think theirs is 40. Theirs is less because they man their own and they do their own there. They pay county 40, and then there's a whole separate tax that they pay for their local stuff.
Can they go up on theirs?
They probably can, but again, they're a budget cycle out of that. They're in need now of $10,000 to shore up the ability to hold summer camp in 2.5 weeks.
But do you have it in the East Rec?
That was my question. And so if we have it in East Rec, which they pay into East Rec, and so why couldn't some of East Rec money be utilized there?
So to that question, I would say they pay an extreme disproportionate share into East Rec, and that was at their own desire. They said, Hendry County, we don't want to participate in your county recreation program because we're out here and we don't feel it's right that we should have to pay, I think it's $100 now to East County Rec. So they made that cognizant choice being based around the fact that they run their own recreation program. Mind you, East Rec was, when I first got on the board, 227 plus in the red, got it down to 174, we got it down to 63, and through our staff working their behinds off and holding a conservative rope on things, I think that we kept a level of service to where it was, and we pulled the reins in. I'm not saying 100% no, and obviously I'm 1 of 5, and we'll see how that plays out. But I would love to hear more from Central County Water Drainage District as it relates to this. And let me tell you, let me make this matter of public record. I'm a bit still perturbed with Central County Water Drainage District. I personally was blamed for structures and dirt and ditches flooding during Hurricane Irma, and I personally was it was stated that Commissioner Turner hasn't done his job as it relates to the Henry County Board of County Commissioners and appropriated funding so that flood control could occur. And I did couple that, a couple of my shots back where if Central County Water District would worry about flood control and not all these other things, maybe that issue could work itself out. So I'm saying all of that to say, I would love to have a face-to-face conversation. I have a very large constituency that's out there in Montura, and I think that there's ways to skin this cat, and we can get there. But I am not a big proponent of giving out finances without knowing where every dollar has gone. And if we're at $10,000 and looking at how that all plays out, I mean, I'd just love to know what that's going to go to, what the volume of participation is, how many people they have coming in, what is their buyback to that, all of those different things.
Do they pay anything into East Rec?
Yes, sir.
46,000 a year.
46,000 a
They
year.
pay 46 into East Rec, plus. does
Their
that-
own, then they put it in their own pot as well.
Done per 40, per household? or
That-
So what you're proposing is taking 10 from the 46,000 that they pay in.
That's correct.
So they do pay in 46,000.
I believe that was the numbers I seen, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Well, Commissioner Swindle, I think that could be as easy as looking at what we're giving from a service rendered back and how that plays out. But I still think, I think this is a wonderful time to open up that conversation with Central County Water Drainage District and say, what is it, what is the tolerance level of y'all just coming on board with us, with regards to what we're doing with YMCA and all of that stuff?
I think that is, yes, I agree. And I believe that is part of the discussion that they want to have as well.
And Commissioner Swindle, they don't have a separate recreation fee, do they? Like you pay a per acre basis, is that correct?
I think it's a dwelling.
Okay.
I think it is a fee per dwelling.
And is the fee per dwelling, is that just for,
maybe
it just
fee
goes
per
into the
lot.
Central County pot?
Then they have
Then they
budgeted
disseminate.
line items,
Yes, sir.
rec gets this. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the numbers like? for kids?
About 50, I think they have.
About 50 kids?
Yeah, they have a target of 50, and I think that's roughly what they had last year.
Probably a chunk of that money goes in swimming pool.
Lifeguards, it's all the money they take in is for lifeguards and.
The time that I've been out there, they had certified educators that were doing the teaching. And that's essential, I think, because then it's not a babysitting service, it's an actual program,
When you have a swimming pool, you spend big money.
Yep.
Commissioner Swindle, how can we facilitate that meeting so that we can both attend and have that conversation with them?
There's one tomorrow night. I don't know that we can both attend, but.
That's a publicly advertised meeting.
One of their regular meetings?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can speak publicly to the group and to their board, just not
Not
to
to
each other.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
All right. Starts at 6?
7, I believe.
7, okay. I want to say I'm in Martin County for LACO management, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Real quick, the program you was talking about, the last meeting about the students working along with people in the industry now.
That's right.
How's that coming?
It's coming along really well. We're expecting a July 1 start date. I was working with Mr. Yorshik's going to be one of the champions to help make that happen, and the construction firm that he's working with, and it's going to be a plethora of building construction trades. It's going to be plumbing, electrician, carpentry, all wrapped into one, and what it's going to be is almost the apprentice-based type thing without the apprentice name. We're just going to kind of steal their curriculum and mojo. And basically assign students that fit to said contractor. They may work with Mr. Yorshak and learn the plumbing skills, go out and demonstrate the plumbing skills. Now we're building a pad, so we're going to go plumb it. So it's going to be hands-on training. And then those students, today the way the structure looks is then they will rotate through. Then we're going to talk about how to build the stem walls, and we're going to learn how to square and make the correct height and saw lumber and correctly work on this job site. So it's basically hands-on training with the education components built in.
You doing it through the high school?
Both. I've recruited heavily in the high schools, had phenomenal feedback from the high school students, and we are getting a pretty good adult group as well.
Mr. Swindle, will the student go to Mr. Yorshak, and Mr. Yorshak will take them through a plumbing track?
That's right.
A CBS track, a mortar,
So what I'm doing
masonry?
is I'm teaming with, we are collectively teaming with contractors that have the whole in-house operations that they can
Okay.
do. That's
So
right.
so 9 weeks into it, or 2 weeks into it, they may be starting to rough in the house from an electrical perspective, running
Right.
EMT, putting in the
Yep.
couplings and all that. Okay.
Exactly.
But it's the same, Mr. Yorshek's your coordinator with the boots on the ground that's directing the boots to all the different entities.
He's going to be one of the key players, yes.
Awesome.
It'd be a travesty not to lean on his years of knowledge and expertise. And
that'll work.
So, yeah.
Where do they go from there?
So from there, what they'll get at the end of 1,050 hours on the job training, they will get a building construction technology certificate showing that they have received 1,050 hours training within that wide girth of areas. And then from there, it's going to work bifold. Hopefully Mr. Yorshik can say, man, you've done a great job for us on the field here. We would like to offer you X amount of dollars to stay with us. And hopefully they, so what we're doing is we're training as well as providing a funnel for those businesses that really want folks to come to work for them. And we're also going to create a career pathway to where if these young men and women say, electricity really turned me on, I really like that work. Well, you know what? FMTC has a phenomenal track for that, or Palm Beach State, or maybe it's West Tech. And so we want to provide a pathway that they see a clear pathway that they can work as well as continue the education in that. This may be the opportunity for some of them to say, toting this tar is not for me. I'm going to something, which that's fine. That's part of what it's about.
So Commissioner Swindle, they go through a roofing track, they go through an electrical track, they go through a plumbing track. They're 600 hours or 400 hours into their 1,050 hour track.
Right.
And they're just turned on about electrical, or they're turned on about plumbing.
Yep.
And the contractor wants to hire them.
Yep.
Does the contractor have to come out of money out of his pocket to hire them? And now are they leaving that school? Or is there any money from Southwest Florida Workforce Development Board? How is that all playing out?
Yeah, so what we're doing is through CareerSource, those that qualify for CareerSource funding, which a lot of our residents do, they will pay for, I believe it's 700 or 800 hours worth of the training. So the students will actually be employed and get workman's comp through the CareerSource, which is phenomenal. And then there will be some buy-in from the contractors that they may have to pick up the differences, and there may be some that do not qualify for the CareerSource because of their income level or their status. So the contractors may have to employ some of them and cover them with workman's comp up front as well. So it's a little quirky with how that works. But
Mr. Swindle, how do you have that presented, and how is the county how is Hendry County specifically helping to market that program? This is phenomenal what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is the definition of whether ever Everglades lands a jet or not.
Right.
We have humans that are going to have a viable trade, and they're going to be able to buy a home and buy a vehicle and send another human that they breed and make to school to be able to do exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
How do we help market this?
The word of mouth is phenomenal. Mr. Yorshek and the company that he's working with and through, they have been great coming to the table. Depending on the numbers of folks that wind up by the mid-June deadline, mid-June time, we may need more contractors. I hope we're in that situation. And so we may need to come to Quality Electric and say, hey, we are busting at the seams. Can I put, 3 guys that are really focused on electricity with you guys? And so that word of mouth and being able to send more folks our ways on both levels, folks that want to go through it as a skill trade learning and contractors that want to be involved as hosts.
Well, I would just say to that point, I think that, this is where it's terrible because you and I sit on the same board and we can't go to lunch and talk about these specific things because now this gets into where I would love to see us be able to devote resources. However, I work with a group hand in glove. We met this morning at 10:30. We're an offshoot of the Economic Development Council. And we would love to hear more about this and have finite details associated with how we can help curtail dollars, cents, and energy into this type of a program because this is county changing.
It is. I'm always willing to give the elevator speech. And to some of those details, we're kind of laying the tracks as that train's a coming.
Yes, sir.
Because there is such a big demand, and it did go over very well in
Sir.
the initial stages. So what I can't answer, we'll figure out together. I'll put it to you that way.
I just wish you'd find a way to do this in the Glades County Training Center.
And I agree. And you want me to update you on that as well?
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. You don't want to tell us anything about those meetings.
Yeah,
So to go
right.
to them.
Well, there's not been one. There's not been another meeting that I'm aware of since the last one that we attended there. There's another one coming up June 12th, I think. And
We're gonna have lunch in Glades County.
Lunch in Glades County?
But you need to have a meeting before that, don't you think?
Well,
maybe a couple.
It's happening, and
Okay.
so which is phenomenal. So the best thing that could happen is happening. Superintendent Bass has taken the reins and is running like a stallion. He is working with potential FMTC. Has been out since our last meeting, put boots on the ground and said, yes, we want to be here, let's get it worked out. They're working on what programs they can legitimately put there that would work for that community. ITech has been given the clearance from their superintendency and the upper level district management to do the same thing.
At that facility.
At that facility.
ITech takes their curriculum and they drive from Immokalee to Moorhaven.
That's right. Send those people there.
This is awesome.
Furthermore, FGCU has applied for a grant, and in that grant,
Eagles.
Go
Actual
Eagles.
Eagles.
That's right. And listen to how they are going to help the region when they do this. We struggle with teachers nationwide. Number one, we struggle with teachers rurally within our specific region. You can have a degree in law and say, I'm tired of listening to Carson Turner, I'm out of here. And you want to go teach, and you can do that for a specified period of time, typically 2 years, and then you've got to start. You have to have the general knowledge and subject area test and things passed so that you can become a certified teacher. Well, we got folks that struggle with that for various reasons. Can't do it.
Getting the certification.
Getting that to they got a degree, but now they've got to move over the hurdle of the teacher certification. It's problematic. We are losing teachers this year that had the highest ranking earning classes at school because those teachers couldn't do it. We've got to anyway, it's an ugly situation.
They couldn't get the certification passed.
That's right. But they're some of the best teachers.
But their students were performing.
Not just performing,
Out.
highest
Yes,
performing
sir.
students in the school.
Yes, sir.
And so FGCU's grant is centered around bringing classes that will take those said teachers that are degreed but working toward getting that certification and getting them through it. And at the end, they will be through it, A and B, with a master's degree.
For like
Tutoring and then moving them forward with a master's degree.
I might become an Eagle too.
At the Glades Training Center. So that is a regional need that's going to be met. Superintendent Bass is
getting it done.
It's one of the reasons we're losing teachers.
Scott Bass is the man.
Scott Bass is getting it done. I spoke with him just as of yesterday, and he shared that with me. And so hopefully by June 12th, there may very well be some agreements in place. They were shooting possibly for some fall start dates. Latest should be spring of 19.
You didn't get anything out of Southwest?
They are working with, he had just spoke with them as well, and he said that they are also willing to engage.
Mr. Chair, who's against us at the June 12th meeting? I say now we change our dynamics a little bit and get updates, and then we make the claim. Guys, I think while the iron is hot, we need to strike and have the first ever joint county commission request, and maybe it's joint county commission, joint school board request of our state legislature. Let's back them into a corner. See, guys, if you can't get behind giving $1.5 million or $500,000 to the Glades County Training Center, and this request is coming from you from the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners, the Glades County Board of County Commissioners, the Hendry County School Board, the Glades County School Board, what are y'all doing? Who can not want to do this? You know, you gave $1.5 million to a room. I guarantee you it was probably 90-10, or was it 95-5? What was the stack against you whenever you went to the Palm Beach County meeting?
100-0.
See, he wasn't even there. He doesn't even register on the scale. He was so outweighed, and that's what I'm talking about. And this is 55,000 people strong now making that request to our legislators. Now we get Senator Grimsley involved. We get Senator Pasadomo involved. We get Representative Pigman involved. We get Representative Donalds involved. You know, this is a logical thing, and this is a huge need to our community.
I think if we all leverage everything we can do to make some of we don't even have to have all these programs happen. If we just got some of these programs kicked off, that would make the plight much easier. So that we need to utilize our mojo between now and then to ensure something happens, and then we can go to them and say, look what's going on. We have to have your help.
What about the cities?
It would be awesome. I can't even get all four of us
They need to be.
to agree to what number one item need to be. So I'm not even going to begin to ask the other two municipalities plus the city of Moorhaven.
Yeah.
But I think that they're crazy if they don't make this in their top three. You know, this is difference. This is a difference maker to us that you can see the return on investment instantaneously. And you could say, oh, well, Carson, we're just going to be training people to leave Hendry or Glades County or Glades or Hendry County to go work elsewhere. So be it. They're gainfully employed. And there's going to be another crop of humans that are going to come through and get gainfully employed. And if we keep making, that's exactly right. You know, and or come back.
keep in mind now, you think that, but the reality is, the ones that are really leaving now are the ones that want to be biologists, the ones that want to be chiropractors. They're leaving because it isn't here.
The cats that want to
ones
stay
that
here,
we're
they're
trying
going to stay
catch,
here.
the
That's
ones
exactly
we're trying to catch are the ones that want to live here,
Yes, sir.
but don't have the training
Yes,
for
sir.
the jobs.
And Commissioner Wills, if you look at our demographics, y'all challenged me with Commissioner Turner, you're saying we need to lower the millage. You're saying that, our population isn't growing. I'm telling you, I got the demographics. I'm going to show it to you. I'm bringing it to you here as we start to get into budget discussions. It will blow your mind, the voluminous amount of our population, and that is, I think it's the 18 to 26, but it may be 26 to 31. But it's that young adult, getting into what is going to be their highest earning potential years, and the corollary of them not having a skill set to be able to be gainfully employed. Therefore, we're supporting them, And
That's
so
what it's going to be like for Mr. Yorshak to have a plumber that actually knows what a street L is or a 90.
Yeah.
Rather than having somebody that comes out of high school and wants $25 an hour and couldn't tell you what a 45 was.
Yeah.
So it's going to grow the
talent
here as well. So that's the reason I asked about it. I was kind of curious where we're at on it. So I've had quite a few people that have been talking about several things. So I think it's going to be an amazing thing for our area, really.
Send them my way.
And the more we can get behind it, the more we need to. I agree with that. I think
Well,
we need to push.
I've told some people the only thing I'm assessing the county administrator on this year in his annual evaluation is whether the Glades Training Center is operable and how well we do in Tallahassee with that request. So no pressure, Charles, no pressure. Sit on it if you want to. So
1 through 10.
Personal check.
You got anything about Commissioner Swindle?
No, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Turner, to you?
Ms. Davis, were you able to talk to Ms. Tony Pavey, McDaniel? Okay, then if y'all have had that conversation, I know there's a meeting happening. There was a little bit of a scare, if you will, with the inability to have enough ambulances to meet the request of patients being transported. Yes, ma'am. So we're going to have a conversation, we being the mayor of Clewiston, myself, one of the hospital board members, Tuesday Tritt. We're going down to the Seminole Tribe of Florida on Thursday to see if we can't establish a more hardline mutual aid agreement, because they have, I think, 5, but maybe 6 rigs, minimally 3, that are sitting in a multi-million-dollar facility, and it could be potentially a budget reduction to them and a cost savings to us and a better deliverable.
How many do they use?
Sir?
How many do they use?
I don't know what their numbers are, but they have all of that. Mr. Latchford is ready to chat with us until.
They use one.
Yes, sir. I think the total population of Big Cypress is right at 600 people.
That's what I mean.
So, yeah.
How many?
I know comfortably. I know they have 3, and they're nice. So, yeah. That's it.
Real quick, back to what we talked about earlier, the insurance is a study we need to do. The last time that was done, I was actually a part of that. And what we come to find out was a lot of things that was insured no longer existed. So we were being charged for, they called it property in the open. There was so many pieces of property in the open that did not even exist anymore. So once you go to that study, it's going to make a big difference. It made a huge difference then. We took a lot off just by spending a week riding around and looking at what we had and what we did not have. So that's going to help a lot. And once again, Mr. Parker, thank you for all you're doing. And I was trying to point out how good you were doing earlier to do what you do with as many hats as you have on. It's a wonder you can put them all on at one time. So our staff does an amazing job for what we ask of them, I believe. Not only Mr. Parker, but many others in here that wear so many hats. So we just need to know, they need to know that we appreciate them, and they need to see that. So that's really all I have. Anybody have anything else?
Before you close out, Mark, where we at with the ordinance for the golf cart?
For you, June 12th.
Everything's June the 12th.
It's going to be a busy night.
Jennifer, didn't we do an inventory of the whole county when we did that insurance?
We did. We rode and looked at every piece of property we had and found so many fences gone, backstops gone.
But anyway, so that's where we got to save the $350?
No.
Okay, but so we should, there's more out there?
But Commissioner Harris, that's where to me, thankfully, we saw a legit or a reputable number in the reduction of our property and casualty coverage.
Right.
But they still never arrived at what a number was per item. Fair statement, Ms. Davis? And I think that's where the insurance company they own the book of business, you know, and so they don't have to. And as long as you're the client, Commissioner Harris, and I own Langford Ford, and I service your truck, and I give you the best deal, and I don't even let you go over to Sam Galloway Jr. or whoever, or Gilbert Ford up in Okeechobee, why are you going to go anywhere else and buy a new truck? You know, I'm your buddy, bud. Just buy it right here. Well, you know, you get complacent, and I'm not saying staff gets complacent. I'm saying that's human nature. That's the way it is. You just get comfortable. It's been a handful of years. I'm excited that y'all are receptive towards even vetting that discussion. Just having this discussion, there's going to be a reduction of some sort. Watch.
Gotta be.
And I would like to add that, as we all know, human capital is the most expensive piece of that, and it's going to be. I do not want to see a single service reduced. I don't want to see anybody have to pay any more in the services on our staff. I do want to see some outside of the box thinking with regards to how can we be creative in making that as affordable as possible.
And you don't want to see a $20,000 deductible on a family's personal plan,
That's right.
and that makes it to where you got to pay $12 a month. That's not what anybody's saying either.
Not what I'm
you know?
saying.
And I know Charles was working on that. I just like to see him finish it out, finish going through what he's going through, you know, the different things that we can do to bring it down, but not take away from.
Yes, ma'am.
The rumor is the school board's going up. Health insurance.
I don't think so.
My company's insurance went up, I think, 34%.
They got something going on.
34%.
Yep. So we're going to market. We're going to market. We made the decision today.
There's a lot of other people in there that are doing the same thing.
And when I got elected in 2008, the insurance and that binder was the first thing that I took a look at. It was the first thing I took a look at. You know, I wanted to look at how much we were paying for number 2 pencils, but I put that on the back burner and I went to the insurance. But I eventually got around to number 2 pencils.
Anybody, anything else? Anyone in the public wish to speak? Meeting adjourned.